Good morning. Welcome back to Farming Simulator 25, Remote Off-Grid Homestead Series. Apparently I had to pay a $6,000 fine for all those trees I cut yesterday. I'm really disliking red tape more the more I mess with it. Alright. Now, when was the time on OSB board? I forgot. Next month, 1865. Okay. Mhm. So let's start off here with doing my greenhouses. Alright, let's check the preserved food factory. Alright. Still have plenty of everything but the... Ah, but the uh, romaine lettuce for... or the napa cabbage for the kimchi. So I only have to worry about putting napa cabbage into the factory. Just like I have to cough. Alright. I'm feeling better, but I still have a bit of the lingering tightness in my chest from being sick over the weekend. This is an apple cabbage. It needs to go into the factory. Got plenty of eggs in there, especially considering that we're out of flour, so there's nothing left to make with these eggs. So they can all go to market. You gotta pursue advancement. There we go. Alright. I'm babbling to myself here. I blame it on the cold meds. When I'm babbling, I should be babbling to my audience, not to myself. Although, to be truthful, I do record these entirely for myself, not necessarily for an audience. Because if I was going to be truly serious about trying to attract and maintain an audience on YouTube, I'd have to put a lot more effort into it to actually produce a good video. Instead, I'd usually just tend to turn the camera on and I play the game and talk about it as I play it. I usually try to just think out loud so that I can share what I'm thinking. Mainly because the people around me don't care. Even my son, who is a gamer, we play completely different styles of games, so other than Pokemon, we really have nothing to share in the gaming environment. Now he plays platformers like Sonic, and then he plays like Gary's Mod and a few other games like that. But I just don't have any interest in, and he has no interest in my RPGs or my strategy games. Actually, I gave him copies of Skyrim and Fallout 4. He thought they were boring. I'm like, wow, this is like the most simplest and streamlined, most action-packed, so-called RPGs there are. Which kind of surprises me, because he plays tabletop D&D with his friends. Or maybe it's that he's not actually interested in the D&D, he's just there for the friends. Alright, I'll see you at the shop. Alright, here I am at the shop now. Alright, 89,600. Alright, so about 24,000. What's the price on straw today? Straw is basically right at its peak. Alright, so that answers that question. I'll see you back at the farm. Alright, I'm back at the farm. Parked semi. I'll go grab the Una mug. And then the bale trailer. Let's put the bale trailer in the operating position. Actually, why am I in the John Deere and not the Una mug? Obviously, it should have snapped through to me that I was in the John Deere since I had to go take my winch off. Pull the... My son just got home from work, so that's the reason why I popped out quick like. Alright, 65%. I think this will take 2 trips. $181. Alright, I'll see you at the shop. Alright, here we are at the shop. Go ahead and grab my stump grinder while I'm here. And I'll see you back at the farm. Alright, here I am back at the farm. I'll go ahead and drop off my stump grinder. Put the trailer in the operator position. Right, there we go. Alright. I'll take the second load to the shop and be right back. Alright, here I am with the second load of straw bales. Another $3,000, that's nice. So I'm up to $124,000, that's very, very nice. Alright, I'll see you back at the farm. Alright, here I am back at the farm. Go ahead and cover this back up so water stays out. Alright. Getting quite a bit of money in there. I'm really looking at this T8000 series. Let's see here. So can't quite afford it. 146 if I get the Pro Compact installed. I'm thinking I might go this way, so that'd be 148. Hmm. Hmm. I'll have to think closely about that, but 359 horsepower. At 31 miles per hour, so that's a pretty good deal overall. Huh. Okay. Yes, I did. Uh-huh. Okay, now that my wife is done interrupting me, since it's the beginning of the month, I'll go ahead and do the watering. Right? Not to take that much water this time. Alright, I'll be back when I have all the watering done. Alright, the water is done. I took a look at some tractors and then got interrupted by the wife. I don't think I'm gonna buy a tractor today. Maybe tomorrow. Actually, I'm gonna wait till January after I sell all that OSB. Alright, go ahead and advance the day to the second half of December. As usual, stick the Napa cabbage in the preserved food factory. Definitely get a lot more out of it this way than by selling Napa cabbage. Yeah, just selling Napa cabbage out of the greenhouse is the worst greenhouse crop. But by making it in kimchi through the preserved food factory, it's actually pretty good. Alright, back to loading. I had to go do my chores in real world. Yeah, I got a barrow out there in the pig pen that needs to go to butcher sooner rather than later. But I've been kind of delaying on it. I've been hoping to try to sell them. I haven't had any luck with anybody actually showing up with the money. Just people saying they want it and not showing. Meow. Look, it's being conversational again. I have 20 more chickens set to hatch next week. And about a dozen turkey eggs, too. Well, I had someone said they wanted 2 dozen hatching eggs, so I gathered and stored up 2 dozen hatching eggs, and they couldn't show up with the $6 for 2 dozen eggs. Damn. I think that's like the biggest problem with being a small-scale homesteader is getting people to actually show up and buy shit. Yeah. One thing I've been wanting to do is find someone who does a farmer's market that would be willing to sell my stuff on consignment. I mean, even if I'm not necessarily making a profit on it, at least I'll be offsetting my cost. That's why I end up getting some eggs since I raise dual-purpose birds. You know, I'm not really raising chickens for eggs, I'm raising chickens for meat. Alright, I think that's everything. Yes. Alright, let me double check the price of OSB. Yeah, so they peak at 1865 next month. They're at 1803 right now, going down. 125,000. Let's say 200. And the pallet of mushrooms pops up basically as soon as I put the John Deere away. Alright, I'll see you at the shop. Alright, here we are at the shop. Alright, so basically made 25,600. Not bad. Not bad at all. That's enough money I could buy that New Holland tractor, but I don't need it right now. I really won't even be able to start putting it to use until March or April. So I got no need to buy it before February. Same thing with buying new land. I really don't have any reason to put it to use until March or April. Alright, I'll go grab the Una mug and feed my chickens. Wrong vehicle. I got surprisingly far before I realized that. There we go. Alright. Open the cover. This thing is stable, but it's so short, narrow, and tall. It looks like it shouldn't be. Alright. Wheat. It's set to tip side left. So I'm too far away from the trough. Let me check, make sure there's no grain left here in the windmill. I don't think there is, but I should just check just to make sure. Okay, there is some wheat in there. Alright. Yeah, so the only grain I have in the storage now is wheat. Hopefully I have enough that I don't have to buy some to feed my chickens. I didn't plant any wheat this year, but I am going to plant some sorghum in the spring. Sorghum and sunflowers. Alright, let's go ahead and advance to next month. Alright, let's take a look at red tape and see what it's doing. Tractor demo, huh? Yeah, I don't see a point. Since I don't do any silage wrapping, I might as well go ahead and do that. I don't have any animals that graze. Alright, Let's check the price on OSB. OSB is above. All right. All right. Is my weight still over here? I'm going to put my weight on since I'm going to be hauling these OSB two at a time. In real life, you'd never haul a sheet of OSB this way, but works just fine in Farming Simulator. Oh yeah, let's go back to grants. Yeah. I can understand why OSB would be very valuable out here. I just don't really understand why January is the best month for it. I think it'd be more popular in like June when everybody starts doing their summer projects. Or maybe September when people start realizing, oh shit, winter's coming, I gotta get this done. Although I'm beginning to wonder when summer's actually gonna arrive. We had a couple warm days, but tonight, even though it's May 6th, we got another frost and freeze advisory out, which is so unusually late in the year. Generally, frost and freeze is done, end of April, not beginning of May. I wonder how many farmers have lost their early crop. Because a lot of farmers have started planting early under the guise that winters are shorter now. Get back here, you pallet of board. Alright, settle down, reset myself. I'm getting into the mistake crescendo where I'm making mistakes over and over again, so stop doing that. Alright, I'm gonna put my communist combine back under the shelter. Get out of my way to loading OSB. I guess it shows just how less popular mushroom greenhouses are to vegetable greenhouses. The fact that whatever mod or game update changed the vegetable pallets from 1,000 liters to 2,000 liters to reduce the amount of hauling. I'm guessing. Did not affect the mushroom greenhouses. Alright, that's all the OSB loaded up. Now let's get the veggies. Looks like I got pallets sticking out the back of my trailer. I'm gonna have to finish this episode up and go to bed soon. I'm having a hard time staying awake as it is between being sick and working a long day on asphalt. I'm already over the 1 hour mark. This was actually 2 days worth of recording in order to get this far in. Pulling the forks and grab this pallet over, grab the nap cabbage. Well, looks like the only thing that the preserve food factory's putting out now is kimchi. Alright. Alright, I'll see you at the shop. Alright, here we are. At the shop. Okay. Hmm. Alright. 169,500. So that was like 50,000 right there. Just the OSB boards. Not too terribly bad. So that isn't way overpriced like I was afraid it was going to be. I was afraid this might yield like $100,000 or something. But no. For the time it took and how long they sat there. 50,000 for those OSB boards seems fair. Alright, I'll be back when I'm at the farm. Alright, here I am back at the farm. Alright, since it's the first of the month, I need to take care of the watering. Okay, I'll be back after all the watering is done. Alright, the water's done. So I'm going to end this episode here. Thank you very much for watching.